Welcome to another FaceHammer Old World video. It's me, Russ the FaceVille, and today, the 30th of October 2023, our first real look at the rules dropped on Warhammer Community. So I wanted to do a video of that, my reaction, talk about my memory of the old rules. I haven't got my books out the loft to check and reread and reinvigorate because I kind of wanted to try and recall myself how the game used to work and what changes we can see from this article. So this is dropped. You can go on the Warhammer community and read this yourself, but sometimes it's just easier to have someone explain it to you. So it does say here release early 2024, so that's great. Can't wait for that. I love some of the artwork in this article. There's a picture coming up later which is one of Byron's favorites and one of my favorites as well. So hopefully they're going to release some green flock for Goblin green paint for the release. It would be quite funny if they did that. And some spear shaft red or something like that. Then we're really cooking with gas now. It looks like the game structure. So this looks quite different. So it does say that it's a new game designed from the ground up, and yeah, it looks that way. Now, it does say that they've taken different bits of different editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and they've kept the complexity, and added some, which is great because I think for people who used to play the game, in terms of the rules, knowing the rules, and it could be a little bit complex, but there was a lot of player skill on the table as well, and knowing the rules and being able to use things like your the way you flee and the way that you could redirect charges and stuff was really important. Overruns and things like that. It meant that if you weren't experienced, you could get caught out. So they're talking about the phase changes now. It's quite interesting. There's a strategy phase. That's a new thing. It sounds a little bit like the hero phase. So it says you cast some spells and you use certain special rules and you try and rally. Now, one thing that's important to say, there's no magic phase, and it looks like they've split the spells across the phases. So this is enhanced enchantment and hexes, so buffs and debuffs. Then the movement phase, it says declare charges, which is always how it used to go. Charge reaction, and then the movement of charges, then you do compulsory, and then normal movement, and then you do conveyance spells. Now, conveyance spells, I guess, are like movement spells, so maybe like Green Hand of Gort, maybe Van Hels's Dance Macabre, if that's in there, hopefully. Probably not, actually, there's no vampires, but stuff like that. So I don't know if the Tomb Kings are going to have their My Will Be Done mechanic with the incantations, because they had their own special magic effect where they just auto cast and you roll a dice, and so we'll see. But that was from 6th edition onwards, they've had different things. So the shooting phase, so you shoot, and then war machines as well, and then cast magic missile, magic vortexes. So that's obviously like your offensive direct damage spells. This is a combat phase, so you don't fight in hand to hand, and wizards have assailment spells, which I'm not sure what they, maybe they're like ones when you're in combat. And then any units that have lost combat may be driven back or become broken and flee. Now, driven back sounds interesting, because what used to happen is you would work out your combat resolution, which is a score. So you'd have 1 for your banner, 3 for ranks, outnumber, killed 3 guys or inflicted 3 wounds, I overkilled your champion, whatever. You get a number score, they have a number score, and then whoever wins, the loser would take a test with the negative modifier. So if you won by 5, they would have -5 to their leadership. You roll 2 dice, and you have to roll under that to not break. If you broke, you would run away. They would try and catch you. Now here it says driven back, so I don't know what driven back means. Maybe the units actually get pushed. I don't know, because broken and flee is sort of the old classic mechanic. It sounds like, and then at the end, once you've resolved all the combats, then that actually ends your turn. So yeah, quite interesting how psychology will play in. I remember playing undead and demons that if you outnumbered cause fear, you auto broke. So if you lost the combat, you didn't take test, you just ran away, because and so a lot of people wanted to have fear causes in the unit, like from an item or from a banner, or have immune to psychology. And there were even things that were unbreakable that never took a test. They just don't run away. So hopefully we'll see all those rules come back in. It says it's a rounds of turns, so it's obviously you go, I go. I don't think there's going to be any like double turns or anything like that. So, and it does talk a little bit about the strategy phase, and that's one of my favorite pictures of all time. This, the trolls and this guy getting absolutely burned with his acid breath. And this guy's like, my eyes, I can't see. Love it. Such a good picture. And basically it says that the start of turn sub phase, so obviously the strategy phase is broken down. There's a start of turn, and then you might take your stupidity tests, or fanatics come out, and normally fanatics would react to your opponent's movement, so that's interesting. And then you can say if you've made a victory condition, and then the second more exciting sub phase is command. Where you can use special rules. Now this, the Falcon Horn of Fridamund, I actually have faced this before with my demons when I played Steve Follows and his Bretts, and Bretts weren't a particularly top tier army, but Steve was a very good Brett player, and I had a demon army with lots of flyers. The way flying used to work is that they blew me for like 20 inches, but if you couldn't fly, use your ground movement. Like Scream was like movement 1. And he blew this horn and my whole army couldn't move. And I was like, oh my God, this is awful. Really cost me the game, to be honest. There was no test. It just worked. So yeah, that's quite cool. But it says here that, you know, if you're not in combat, you can use the horn, take a leadership test, they pass it. Enemy units cannot use the Fly X special rule. Now that probably looks like flying units will have different moves depending what they are. It used to be that fly was a flat move. Everyone had 24 or 20. It was, well, I think it was 20. It used to be 24 back in the day. I'm pretty sure fly high won't be a rule in the game, because you used to be able to do in the old edition. Fly high, took them off the table. Next turn, put them anywhere on the table, anywhere you want, even in combat. So, yeah. And then it says that there's no magic phase, as we noticed, and they're done in the phases. So the first step in the strategy phase is Conjuration, where you cast enchantments. It's in enhancements. That's a Age of Sigmar carryover. So these are like obviously buffs and hexes, which are penalties. It says players take it in turns to choose wizards to cast spells. So it sounds like maybe you can cast in the other person's go. Maybe it's just so it's a bit strange. It says take it in turns to choose wizards to cast spells. So it might be that wizards are casting magic in both players' turns. So magic might be a big deal. So I don't know how that's going to affect things like dwarfs who don't have any. So, and then we've got Jaf's Incantation. They use the word incantation, but it looks like it works like a normal spell of Cursed Blades, because what Tomb Kings had before is, and this is going back to 6th edition, is you had like pool of dice, and you would just cast automatically at a value rather than have a pool of dice that you need to try and cast spells with. Obviously, I don't know if they're going to the thing that every wizard can just cast a spell and it's a flat test. It says what's casting value will go into more in another article. So obviously Magic's looks like it's been really shaken up. I always remember in the old world, so old Fantasy Battle, I need to keep saying Fantasy Battle now. So in Fantasy Battle, there was lots of different Magic mechanics. There was one where you generated dice, so 4 dice for level 4, 2 dice for this. There's one where you rolled 2d6, and then you got the better together. They got the other d6, the highest one, and then you had different bonuses. And I think there was one with cards. So you had a deck of cards that was in 4th edition. There's like the total power card and the drain magic card and the escape card, where you killed that slan finally and they escape and come back on the table. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully that Magic's going to be cool and interesting. It sounds like they've put a lot of effort into making that a thing. So it says may reroll hit rolls for natural ones, so it's pretty good. It says if casting value is 7, so I don't know if that means it's 2d6 roll, add your magic level, maybe. That might be how it works. Guessing. I mean, I think a flat 2d6 roll to get 7 is a little bit high for what it does. So I imagine there's some like wizards, because in the old world in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, then wizards had level 1, 2, 3, 4. So that meant you generated more power dice and you could roll more dice at a spell. Maybe in this that means that you're adding that value to your cast. So if you're a level 4 wizard, like you're a high Lich Priest, you would be adding 4 to your roll. So getting a 7+ is kind of easy. But if you were just a normal Lich Priest and you were like level 2, then you're only adding 2, so it's like you're not as likely to cast it. And you could see like really high cast values like 10, 11, 12, if that's the case, and that could kind of be a cool way of doing it. I'm speculating, I don't know, I'm just guessing by reading this. So I'm not involved in any of the old world stuff, so I don't have any prior knowledge for if people think I'm shocking anything. It's just guessing. So final step is the rally fleeing troops. So you must rally active units that are the units that are fleeing. It does tell you how to take a rally test. So it says choose a unit, roll 2 dice against your leadership. If you fail, continue to flee. So I guess it's like the old school leadership test, which is 2d6, roll equal to or under. If you pass, you're allowed a free reform, which is a reform, if people don't know, is you can pivot the unit on the spot and change its rank and flank. So normally, like say for example, you had 20 goblins, 2 lines of 10, and you ran away, then you rallied, you could put them in 4x5, 5x4 or something like that, facing a different direction, like pivot on the spot, because they kind of like muster back up and then reform ranks, which allows them to act later on, and probably and it says otherwise you'll continue to flee. I don't know if you can act in the turn you rally, because normally that would be a bit weird if you rally then could immediately do stuff, because obviously rally is at the start of the turn. So it probably says so you can't move in the movement phase, or you can't shoot, or you shoot in modifiers, you can't charge, whatever. You might be able to move, might not be able to charge. So they're going to talk about morale later. One thing they do say here is that if unit's under half strength, it's -1 to its leadership. If it's under 25, you need a natural +1. Now that's definitely new. There was something called insane courage in the old one. So if you roll a +1, you just pass. Like even if you in combat you lost by 25, +1, you pass. So that can be really pivotal sometimes. And that's why fear was so strong, because it just removed that chance. You just, it don't matter. The auto break. But if now with this, people might remember the game used to be played as pitched battle. So you line up and you jockey for position, and literally you kill stuff, and then you'd go at the end of the turn, end of the game. Any unit that was below, I think, half strength, you got like, or you got some points for it. You had to destroy it completely. So you used to get things like high leadership armies rallying like the one model behind a hill, and they would just run into a corner and be like, I'm worth like 400 points. And it used to be quite annoying if you were playing combat armies that didn't have a lot of shooting. You couldn't really get them. So that could be a big problem. So it looks like here there's some action to reduce the chance of these like elite units like sticking around, because you need to roll a natural +1 as soon as you're below 25%. So if you've got a horde of 30 guys, as soon as you're down to like 5 models or whatever, you're not gonna, I know that's not 25%, but if you get down to like your 7 models, you're not going to be able to rally basically, unless you're a +1, which would be quite unlikely. Could happen, but that's Warhammer was always fun, because those like outlier extreme luck cases did happen, and they made a lot of stories that were told in Bugman's at Warhammer World around, I did this, but he rolled a +1. And it was like, I failed my leadership 10 with a reroll battle standard bearer test, which happens a lot more than you think. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's good to say. So they say they're going to be doing more articles to talk about like magic, morale, psychology. As those articles drop, I will cover those, like this video, give you my thoughts, talk about the old, the new old and the old, and just explain, just give you the information and talk about some of my memories from back in the day. Hopefully you found the video informative. Obviously you can go check out the article yourself and give it a read. There's lots of articles about the old world on there. If you don't really want to search through to find them all, I'm going to do a video which is the story so far, where I actually talk through the articles and what's been shown. So hopefully you can watch that and get yourself up to speed and ready for the ramp up for the release. I will probably dig out my old armies and do some videos on those, just to show you, like, I think I've still got my first undead army on Goblin Green bases that I did when I was about 11, so I think that's in the loft, so I might have to go up and dig that out and do a little video on that. It's got the paper banners and everything, and I've got my original black undead Warhammer armies book, which is my first ever army book that I had, and it was features in the first White Dwarf that I owned, not the one that I've saw, because my brother was into the hobby and he's older than me, and he had a Deathwing Terminator White Dwarf. So Space Hulk was kind of our first foray into Games Workshop, along with, well, Hero Quest actually, then Space Hulk, Space Crusade, and Space Marine Epic. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one. Hit the subscribe button if you want to get more Old War content.